What's up, everybody? Welcome to Grace Out Loud, a podcast for conversations about faith that you don't always hear on Sundays. I'm Katie Gause. He's Don Bronico. And today we are joined by a special guest, our Pastor Emeritus, Bryan Wilkerson, our first guest here on the show. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, thanks for asking. Always nice to connect.
We're happy to have you here. And we always like to start things off with a little bit of an icebreaker. So we will let you kick it off because you are the expert on this one. Okay. Retired. So what are the hobbies that we should be thinking about? What are the hobbies that you've gotten to start looking into or starting to do in your retirement?
Well, I mean, the nice thing is you can do more of the same stuff. You just do it on your own time.
Even better.
When you want, where you want. You avoid the crowds. But probably the biggest would be traveling.
Yeah.
Just the ability to be able to just take off and go. Get a car, train, plane, whatever. Just go. Stay an extra day if you want.
Yeah.
You know, let's extend the trip. There's no one to rush back for. There's no one waiting for us.
That's awesome.
So we're doing a lot. We're on the road a lot.
I like it.
Loving it. Your favorite place you've traveled to?
I mean, I have to say our grandkids in case they're watching. Yeah. So going to see our kids and grandkids, but they live in great places. Yep. Denver, Florida, New York.
Oh, that's perfect.
So they're fun places to go.
Those are all good spots. Tom, what would you do if you retired tomorrow?
If I retired tomorrow, I think I would want to do more art. I've kind of fallen off that and I want to get back on it. I don't know if I would say this when I am retiring, but play video games. Like, I don't know if that's still something I will desire to do.
Will you like that when you're at the time you could retire?
Maybe there'll be even like more advanced video games.
Yeah, they're already getting all that virtual reality.
Yeah.
Who knows what you could do?
Exactly.
For me, I would probably say go back to what I loved growing up, which was working in animal rescue.
Oh, yeah.
And maybe start my own little like foster-based nonprofit rescue group.
Cool.
Basically just collecting all the dogs would be.
That's cool.
That would be something that I would do. I've always thought that'd be a nice little hobby, so to speak.
Yeah.
But we're talking about you today, Bryan. We're talking a little bit about the experience that you've got to have in this new season of your life. And you spoke to us and our staff, and we were so moved by some of the things that you had to say. And it all started with the conversation that you and your wife were having of where should we go to church, transitioning into a thought that I think we've all had. Do we even want to go?
Yeah.
It's something that maybe you feel guilty saying, when you're a Christian, but everybody thinks that way at some point. Lives are busy. Right. So tell us a little bit about kind of the conversation, how that started, and what that process was like for you guys.
Sure. Yeah. Well, initially, it's kind of a nice thought. Hey, we can go anywhere we want to church. We can visit all these pastors and churches we've heard about that we've never been able to see. And so it's fun for a little while. Mm-hmm. But then it gets old fast. Yeah. Where do you want to go today? I don't know. Here, there. And, you don't know anybody and you walk in and you're a stranger and there's no continuity. Mm-hmm. But then... So that was the first thing to get used to. The second thing to get used to was after some of those less than satisfying experiences to say, do we even want to go today?
Right.
Because we don't have to. A, I don't get paid to go. But B, I can follow Jesus without going to church.
Yes. Sure.
So do I really need to and want to? Mm-hmm. Because some of the experiences haven't been satisfying. That was a surprising question. But the aha behind that was, this is how just about everybody else feels.
Yes.
Yeah. Yep.
Do I want to go today?
Yep.
And
you got to experience
as a pastor, you don't often think that way. You just assume everyone's going.
Yeah, exactly. And like you said, you're getting paid to do it.
Right.
Obviously, you enjoy it, but it's part of the job. So when you have that option, and it brings up a more interesting point of if people are choosing not to go to church, what are maybe the reasons behind it? Yeah. And you said that you started to get the opportunity to explore churches, not just around here, but all over when you were visiting Florida. Can you tell us a little bit about what your exploration sort of led you to discover about some reasons why not going to church is a more common option than people think?
Right. Okay. Yeah. And probably the big picture is when you're used to going to church and you walk into a church, you can pretty easily figure out what's going on.
Yeah.
But what I began to realize is that as a guest, to not know what's going on, you can begin to feel like an outsider. Mm-hmm. And it's not all that satisfying. I compare it to maybe me walking into a casino. Yeah. I don't know casinos. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to act. I don't know how they work. I watch people, maybe they seem to be having fun. But it doesn't look that fun to me. And I say, well, that was interesting, but I don't want to go to casinos.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And I wonder how many people feel that way about church. You people are having a great time. It's obvious that you enjoy it. And it's been a nice experience being here, but I don't need this every week.
Yeah.
That was an aha experience for me.
Yeah.
So what is it they're really looking for that's going to get them to come back again?
Yeah.
So one of the first things I thought of was people are looking for a connection.
Yeah.
They want to make a human connection, another human being who they can get close to, who might know them, value them, a place where they feel like people care about them. You hear so much about our disconnected society and people are lonely. And in spite of social media, we're disconnected. To walk into a place and feel like, oh, there's some human connections here. I think people are desperately looking for that.
Yeah. Well, Dom, that's, being the connections guy for as long as you have, you know all about that. When you were listening to Bryan talk about this before and here again,
I was like, he's saying everything I've been saying.
Yeah. Well, what stands out to you? Like, because you've gotten to sort of see the deer in headlights folks that walk in each week.
Well, from your talk, which was just so great, like literally I was texting a group of us just like, he's saying everything I've been wanting to say. People really do want connection, and it's not as easy as, they just come and they get plugged right in, right?
Just say hello and that's it.
Yeah. So I actually had a chance to visit a bunch of different churches on sabbatical, and they're all great churches. None of these churches are bad, but I had this interesting experience where I went into one and I was kind of like, oh, I hope they don't try to say hi to me, try to welcome me, because I kind of just wanted to like coast and leave. And I had this bizarre experience where nobody really said hi to me. The service let out and everyone got up and left. And I was like, nobody said hi to me. Like, and I realized like, wait, I didn't want that, but now I feel like,
how did they not do that?
And I think like everybody wants to be reached out to. And the busyness and the hecticness of life and all the hurry that we have make it so that if there isn't a clear pathway, and if a church isn't intentional about seeking out who isn't connected yet, people are just going to fall by the wayside.
Right.
And it's not out of intentional negligence or animosity.
Right.
It's just that when we get comfortable and we get in our cliques and our communities, we talk to our friends. But it's a good reminder for all of us to be thinking about who is the next person after me, right? At least that's what I took away from your talk.
And that interesting inner conflict. On the one hand, I want people to leave me alone. I just don't want to be bothered. And then walking out and saying, no one said hi to me. What we want, we don't want to be sold something.
Yes.
We don't want to be hustled, but we would like a genuine connection.
Yeah, that's good.
So, we visited this one great church in another part of the country, and it really is a good church, vibrant. We walked in, the place is full of people, young families, there's music, it's a cool venue they're in, and everybody's talking and chatting. We're obviously brand new people. We're not dressed like Floridians, and we're older than most of the people there, so it's pretty obvious. And they did the right thing. Someone held the door for us. Hi, glad you're here.
Right.
But it never felt real. And no one said a word to us. Even when they did the turn and greet your neighbor, we were in the middle of the room, literally the middle of the room, and everyone turned and greeted their neighbors. No one said one word to us. And at one point, I went to the information table to get something, and there was a host there, and I literally had to interrupt the host from talking to their friend and say, can I have one of those? And is this how it works?
Yeah.
Obviously
you were giving all the signs.
I was giving all the clues. And so they greeted us from the front, but it just never felt authentic and real, like you care about me.
In other words, if the process is there, but the heart behind it isn't for genuine belonging and feeling known, then it's just going to be a process. It's just going to be a product. But real community is not something that can be sold, like you said. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Well, it's also a challenge because, again, you have different personalities that are all coming through the door, right? For myself, when I walk in somewhere, I'll seek out a connection because that's who I am. But there are a lot of people who are wanting to be left alone. So when you have a group that kind of already feels like they're just checking the boxes of saying hello, how do you find the right way to authentically meet someone who, is apprehensive about being there?
Yeah. I think you have to set aside your own plans, interest, agenda. Who do I want to see today? And even passing judgment on that particular person and just say, I have a genuine interest in this human being. By the grace and providence of God, they showed up here today. And I'd love to find out who they are and just let them know I'm glad they're here just as they are. If you can get your heart in that place, that's rather than an agenda or whatever.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's right.
Good.
I know you mentioned there's a couple other pillars. You like the number 3. So the second one was when people show up, they're looking for guidance. Can you talk a little bit more about, so you've made it through that first hurdle, right? Maybe you made them feel connected. You've gotten through that first step. How do you provide the right guidance to bring something to the next level for someone who is experiencing a church?
Yeah, I think people, when they do come to church, whether they're already believers or not, they know they're going to get a sermon. That's pretty much the standard thing. They're going to get a talk, but they come anyway because they're hoping maybe they'll hear something. And I settled on that word guidance because to me, they're not looking for a lecture. They're not looking for information. They're maybe not even looking for knowledge. What they're looking for is guidance. And guidance to me is both personal, like a guide comes alongside you and helps you in particular get where you want to go. And guidance is practical. Go here, stop this, try that, how about that, rather than being a lot of abstract theological kinds of stuff. And so I think the teaching that comes has to have that personal, practical sense of relevance and guidance for people.
Yeah. For you, when you're crafting a message, what is the challenge to finding a way to meet the one, but also cater to an entire group?
Right. A couple things I do. One, I had a preaching professor once say, imagine someone standing up every 2 minutes in your sermon and saying, so what? Just so what?
Yeah.
Why did
That
you
is
just
good.
spend 3 minutes talking about this thing? What difference does that make to me? And then I also used to try to imagine my neighbors being in church. I would just think the people on my block, if they were sitting here today, and most of them were not churchgoers in our sense of the word, if they were sitting there, would they care? Would
That's
this
a
be
good
helpful?
practice.
Would
Yeah.
it make sense
Yeah.
to them?
Right.
The church crowd may be loving what I say, but what about the one who's not used to being in church?
It's kind of like when you like have people over your house and you think like, oh yeah, this is clean. Then someone walks in and you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I didn't sweep that area or repair that a long time ago or repaint that wall, you know?
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
The other thing that I find could be a challenge and would at least be interesting is, and this is sort of similar to the conversation of connection, but not everyone is going to overtly, ask for guidance the same way they wouldn't overtly ask for a connection or being invited into something. So what are the ways that you can provide guidance or sort of find a way to connect with people, giving them guidance when they aren't maybe aware of how to ask for it?
Yeah. I think as a teacher or a leader, you're always trying to imagine life from that person's perspective. So not what do I think they should know or hear, but what might be going on in their lives that I can connect this to. Hey, maybe this is your first time in church in a long time, or, it could be you just got some tough news from the doctor this week, or just take the time to imagine how this truth is going to fall on the ears of real everyday people. And that will usually help you get there.
Yeah. Well, the last comment you had was about transcendence, and this one is more unique. Can you explain what transcendence is? Maybe, a time that you as a guest were able to experience it?
Yeah. I think transcendence is the idea that deep down people do want to be, life can be tedious, it can be hard, it can get even monotonous, to be lifted out of that and say, oh, this is what life is all about. This is why I'm here. This is my purpose. There's a bigger story going on that my job, my parenting, my whatever is a part of. There's a bigger, better story going on. So I think when we paint that picture for people of a God who loves them, is at work in the world and doing good things in the world, and they have a part to play in that story, man, that just kind of lifts them.
Yeah. Have you ever been at a service where you had a moment where you were like, wow, they nailed that, right? Like something that, even in your retirement, you're like, I feel like they were, something you could have learned from, right?
Yes. I would say, just recently, in fact, I went to a church, and April's been kind of a tough month for us, coming back from being away with our grandkids for a couple of months, back to home and jobs and shore and, rainy weather in New England. And we had a car accident on the way home. So that was complicated and we were sore. And we went to church.
Right.
A church I hadn't been to in a while, good church. And it wasn't a spectacular service, but it was very centered on Jesus.
Yeah.
And the teaching, the worship, the songs, we did communion. And by the time I walked out of there, I felt centered. I felt, oh yeah, this is who I am. This is who God is. This is what's going on in the world. Let's, we can handle this. And it was a very grounding, centering experience for me.
And I think people are seeking that out. A while ago, Akash, who does our high school ministry in Lexington, he gave this presentation about how people seek out transcendence. And he talked about, the Nicole Kidman, is it AMC?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Yes.
And how she does this, we come to this place to experience something that takes us away from our daily lives. And how so many people were drawn to that commercial. And it's just like a commercial for a movie theaters, essentially.
Right.
Yeah.
But there's something that all of us want that takes us up and above the monotonous daily grind that all of us experience. And we seek it out in a ton of different ways. But I think you're 100% right and hit the nail on the head that when we come to church, we want to be grounded in the person of Jesus. And we want to know that all the tasks that we do, all of the monotony, there is something bigger than us at play, right?
Absolutely.
I hope I'm phrasing that right.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think in hearing your reference with the AMC commercial, it also makes me think of a little while ago, there was a trend on social media where people were posting nostalgia. It was kind of the theme, right? It was an old Goo Goo Dolls song and it was showing photos of what things used to look like back in the 90s, right? And so many people latched onto that and resonated with that because it is, the song was Better Days, right? But when you think back to just times that were meaningful to you, and there's a reason why people are always loving to look back at old photos and loving to look back at old things and clinging to nostalgia because, again, it takes them to a place and it gives them a feeling, right, that they don't maybe have right now. Yeah. But when you can provide that to someone, you can give them that feeling when they come into a church or when they leave a service, you're really doing something special.
Yes. Yeah. I was talking with a teenager recently who's been going to youth group at a church, but her parents had not been going and didn't seem that interested. But at some point, her father said, "Hey, I'm going to go with you this time." She says, "Oh, why?" And he kind of said, "There's so much darkness and gloom in the world. I'd like to see if there's something more positive out there, and I'd like some hope." Now, he wasn't saying, "I want Jesus or the Bible." He was simply saying, "I want a bigger, better picture and story." And that was enough. I think people are looking for that. Yeah. I often say, what church ought to be offering people something they can't find anywhere else.
Yeah.
You can find a lot of stuff, a lot of places. You can find content and beauty and music and laughter and entertainment. You can find all of that. But what does church offer something they can't find anywhere else?
That's good.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like this, recent movement of young people really seeking religion. Yes. And when you know that is going on, right? If you're in the position of having the opportunity to try to find those people, to bring those people in, what are the things that you have to think about when you've got a group that's curious? How do you capitalize on that curiosity in the right way?
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's talk a little bit about the practical application of this, right? Because we are obviously members of a church. We are working here. We're supported by pastors. We're supported by volunteers. So all the things that you just talked about, what are things that a church staff can stop and say, okay, these are things that we should be focusing on. These are the things that we want to ensure we are doing for newcomers, for members of our church.
Yeah, I think for staff members and volunteer leaders, it's being very thoughtful and intentional about how you design a service or an event, the words and language that you use, the tone and posture you have when you're in front of a group of people, bringing some creativity to what they do so it's not just same old, what church always does or what... I like to surprise people. Like, oh, I didn't know church could be fun or relevant or friendly or anything. I know you can laugh at church.
Right.
You want to surprise people. So it's just that thoughtfulness, that creativity, that intentionality, rather than just automatic pilot.
Yeah. And I think just to piggyback off that, something that is in what you're saying is authenticity.
Yeah.
I heard, I was listening to this podcast And it talked about that spiritual curiosity young people feel. And young people are curious about church, but they are so quick to sniff out when there's like a play that's just being ran from somewhere else that is just plugged in.
Yeah.
And so if they feel like there's like something that they are being plugged into that is just repurposed, they're easy to sniff that out.
Yeah.
And so I think that churches need to practice authenticity of doing the practical things that help all of us get plugged in, but separating our brains to be present with the person and being our fullest self, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
I think that's what you were saying too.
Yeah.
You know, there's this, they always say that that horses can smell fear, you know, and I know that's true because I'm terrified of horses and they abuse me horribly, so I stay away. I think human beings can smell sincerity.
Yeah.
They can tell if you really like them and are present with them and glad to be there, or if you're just going through motions or have an agenda.
Yep.
They can sniff out the difference. So I think searching our own hearts and being sure we're bringing that sincerity.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. Dom, when you work with young adults, do you feel like there's even maybe a greater challenge to find things that are new or surprising? Because they are so kind of just in tune to everything that's going on in the world in a different way. Like what challenges do you face when you're trying to reach that group?
Well, ironically, I'm like a huge like process nerd. Like I love seeing what other churches do that work, the other organizations do that work.
Yeah.
So I am like so quick to be like, oh, this works here. We're going to take it and we're going to plug it in.
Right.
So I was like kind of listening to that podcast being like, dang it, that's what I do.
Oops.
But as I talk to young adults, and I'm sure both of you can relate to this, because one, you are a young adult and you work with young adults. I really do see that they want authenticity and they want honesty. Like there's so many young people who want people to be bold and talk about that transcendence, but they don't want you to beat around the bush. They want you to be honest, which is like different from me because I grew up kind of wanting to always be very nice and help people with their feelings. And so this is a different approach than I'm used to.
Yeah.
And I think that honesty has to do not only with your persona and how you relate to people, but if you're a teacher, or your content, that you're offering honest content that acknowledges problems, struggles, questions that are hard to answer. I'm afraid a lot of teaching I hear in churches, I'm afraid to say, is superficial, shallow. It avoids the hard questions. It gives cliches and pat answers that if you're a Christian, you nod your head and say amen. But the average person's saying, that's not how the world works.
It doesn't help me.
It doesn't help me. And so being willing to ask hard questions and dig deep and leave a little bit of mystery and unresolved things, that's important.
Yeah. The last one that I'll ask, and I just think this is interesting, it kind of stuck out to me when you were talking about the church that you visited in Florida and how you guys were maybe older than most of the people that were there. What are the challenges when you are dealing with a congregation that has such a wide variety, where you've got young people, young adults, young families, but then you have people who have been coming for a very long time who are older, and you're dealing with so many different phases of life?
Right. Yeah. It is a challenge, but it's also one of the beauties of church.
Yeah.
And one of the things that maybe people can't find other places in their world, we tend to be with people in our own demographic. And a good, healthy church brings people together intergenerationally and culturally and politically. So that's the beauty of church, but it does make it challenging. So I think part of the key is bringing your own sense of curiosity and humility to the experiences. I'm not here just to get what I want and find my people. But I might be surprised today by somebody I meet, a conversation I have that I can't find anywhere else in my world.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah.
So the thing is, right, ultimately coming to church, that's why it matters, because you don't know on any given Sunday exactly what you're going to get when you walk through those doors.
If a church can create that, gee, I wonder what's going to happen today, they'll show up every week.
Yep.
That's good.
Bryan, thank you so much for joining us, for being here, for sharing your experiences as a pastor, as a retired pastor, as a Christian, as a person. This is so interesting. I know that we learned a lot the first time we heard you speak, and even more so hearing all of this today. So we really want to thank you for being part of our podcast.
I love being part of it. I've been enjoying the podcast. Glad you guys are doing it. And It's a wonderful season in our lives. We're super grateful for it and grateful to stay connected to Grace here. So
awesome. Well, you're going to have to come back. We'll bring you back. There's no question.
Nice,
you will make a second guest appearance. But that does it for this episode of Grace Out Loud. Thank you guys all for watching, and we will see you all next time.